What's going on, everyone out there? Um, I just wanted to quickly make a quick video once again to let everybody know that if cannabis has enlightened your life and made your life better in some way, I think it's pretty important that you write to this FDA comment section thing that we have going on here. And we have almost 5,000 comments. I don't know if you can see that here. Let me move that over real quick. Yeah, 4,997 comments. So get on over there, make a couple comments, do what you can. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and read some comments. And this is totally random. I just pushed the button a minute ago, and I'm going to read some of these. There's like 25 on here. I might get through this whole first page. Yeah, there's 25 comments on this page. So who knows what we're gonna get? All right. And when I was asked about this on DC420 show, I don't know in what context it was, but I basically said, hey, there's gonna be the same reefer madness, nut jobs that make comments on Twitter and write articles for Scientific American or whatever. Those people are going to make comments. Those people, the Kevin Sabats of the world, they're making comments on this. So we better make comments too. If you have some good things to say, make comments. So let's check this out. Now these are just okay. Yeah, you got to open the whole comment. So we're gonna end up doing that too. We'll go ahead and open them all up, and then we'll go through them. And sorry I didn't already do this. I don't want to crash my browser out because it's pretty weak. We're gonna let's see. Did I get him? Matt Malby. Yep. All right. We'll start with Matt Malby and work our way back, and then we'll get the last couple that are on that page. Matt Malby. Now, hey, if I'm somehow you stumble upon me reading your comment, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? But if I do, I'm sorry. But hey, this is public information, so whatever. So Matt Malby's comment is: legalize it. Too many have suffered needlessly because of prohibition against one of the least toxic substances known to man. All for money and control. You want a MAGA? Stop persecuting your own people. Penalize irresponsible behavior, not mere usage. Pretty good. Kind of alludes to irresponsible behavior. I mean, I don't know how much you penalize somebody for irresponsible behavior. Penalize things that are crimes. But I'm not. All right, I'm not gonna. I know I'm coming in like as somebody that criticizes shit all the time when it comes to weed. From here on out, I promise I'm just going to read the comment and go to the next comment. I'm not going to get mad about it, and I'm going to just tell the audience one more time, you should write a comment. If you get mad at one of these comments I read because it's negative and it's bullshit, but it's something that people are always saying, don't get mad at me, don't get mad at them. Just go write a comment, all right? Turn that energy around into good energy and make a positive comment, because I know you have one, all right? Does somebody know somebody that probably like is a drug addict and does really bad things? Probably. Everybody knows at least one person, maybe. Is that weed's fault? No. So you're gonna hear comments. I don't know if I'm gonna read any or not. I have not looked at this sample group, but you might run into some comments where people are like, "Oh, it leads to these other things, and my cousin's dead, and all this stuff." And it's like, we know that that people make decisions on their own. Weed doesn't guide you into heroin. You don't smoke weed and think, gee, I think I'd rather do heroin. I don't even know what the logic is behind this gateway theory, but we know that it's bullshit, so that's probably one of the main themes you're going to hear on the negative tip. Well, anyway, all right, so having said all that, I'm going to go through here and just read these and see what happens. This is a comment from Anonymous. The war on drugs is a crime against humanity. Cannabis criminalization is the best example. Legalize it. Comment from Jared Watson. I am an advocate for the blanket legalization of marijuana for recreational and medical at a minimum medical use, medicinal. It doesn't make sense to continue ruining lives over the plant. Though its abuse potential may be high, alcohol, cigarettes, sugar, and prescription drugs share the same fate of providing high abuse potentials. But nobody beats their wife after smoking a joint, quote unquote. And this comment is coming from Sasha Notash. Hello, I would like to present my input on whether the cannabis plant and its derivatives should remain as a Schedule 1 drug under the Scheduled Drug List. It has been continuously validated that the cannabis plant has a multitude of purposes, both medicinally and recreationally. The narrative that this plant is addictive as heroin is not only a false narrative, but an inflammatory narrative as well. So many good, hardworking people have been wrongfully imprisoned for not just consuming the herb, but simply being around it. There has been no legitimacy behind the reports of this plant being harmful. This has been a complete betrayal to the millions of people who suffer from diseases and ailments that can be easily reversed and or cured with the regular use of cannabis. I am in full support of both medicinal and recreational use of cannabis. Keeping the cannabis plant as a Schedule 1 drug is not only the greatest mistake America can make today, it is also the cruelest decision that this administration make on behalf of its citizens. The fact that there has never been a death from the direct result of cannabis consumption should not only open the eyes on all parties, opponents, and advocates alike, but should bring about the conversation of completely descheduling cannabis altogether. Descheduling cannabis would bring about major market gains and decrease the mortality rate from what will be diseases once thought to have no cure, and will vastly improve the lives of fellow citizens. Follow the scientific evidence and leave behind old narratives that have no place in our ever-evolving world. Thank you for your consideration. And I just noticed that some of these have like state or province. So this is from Tennessee, country, United States. Category, individual consumer, from Jacob Hoffman. Cannabis and other hallucinogenic drugs like mushrooms, LSD, and MDMA should not be Schedule 1 drugs. Studies have shown that LSD and MDMA can help treat symptoms of conditions such as PTSD, depression, and anxiety, with few trips having long-lasting benefits. Cannabis has also shown promising results with medicinal use. Cannabis has been shown to ease chronic pain, stop seizures, treat insomnia, and can even help in addiction and avoiding addiction by substituting opiates with cannabis. By the very definition of Schedule 1 drug, cannabis cannot be one of these drugs. And we have another anonymous comment. You shouldn't need people to tell you that marijuana shouldn't be classified with the worst drugs on the planet. Its medical benefits are widely known and accepted in the medical community. The benefit of stopping the serious opioid problem in this country is reason enough alone to not only decriminalize marijuana, but to make it a standard practice for non-serious cases of pain. Its biggest benefit, however, is for mental health. The amount of people in the world suffering from anxiety and depression is outrageous. We have a substance that seriously helps people. This is being kept out of their hands because it's illegal. Mental health is a growing problem, and battling it with marijuana is the smartest possible course of action we could take. Marijuana is not only a recreational drug, it's a huge benefit to millions and millions of people for a variety of reasons. It needs to be legal, period. Its abuse will be significantly less than any other drug substance, including alcohol. And this is this was in a category of academia. And then this is a comment from Jacob Michaels. Study after study has shown in varying degrees that marijuana has medicinal purposes. To keep this decades-old scheduling would be ignoring the troves of research that has since come to light. For the betterment of our citizens, criminal justice system, and the medical community, I support the rescheduling of marijuana. Rescheduling? Like I said, I'm not going to comment on these. Holy moly, that's a big one. And this is an individual consumer, Justin McDonald. Marijuana. In recent years, marijuana and cannabinoids have been analyzed in numerous independent medical studies both here and abroad. The current classification of marijuana as a Schedule I controlled substance with no accepted medicinal value and high potential for abuse is without merit and unsuccessful or unnecessarily harsh. It was first criminalized out of prejudice and false or misleading information during the 1930s. Cannabis has been used in some capacity for the better part of the last 5,000 years for a myriad of reasons. Only within the last 85 years has it been deemed somehow morally reprehensible and criminal to produce or consume it. Even during the 1940s, a study on cannabis and its effectiveness on treating forms of epilepsy were documented. However, these findings were dismissed and the research buried. Medical studies have established numerous correlations between cannabis, cannabinoids, and their effectiveness in treating a plethora of symptoms and conditions for a wide variety of medical illnesses. These findings, along with anecdotal evidence and personal testimonials, are still commonly swept aside or ignored. Cannabis is not a dirge upon society and has been proven to be a safer alternative to treat certain symptoms in lieu of other prescribed medications and even some over-the-counter drugs that can have serious, even deadly side effects. Yet these drugs are FDA approved and prescribed and or marketed en masse. Recently, NPR published an article citing a study that concluded a drop in opioid abuse rates in states that legalize cannabis or medical marijuana, some as high as 25%. These findings are significant and should be taken seriously given the gravity of our nation's opioid addiction and overdose rate. 29 states, including the District of Columbia, have legalized medical marijuana, including 8 or 9 for recreation. If cannabis were a threat to public health, why would they have done so? Yeah, that's a good point. I've heard that point made before, and I like that point. Like, you have 29 states that have medicinal marijuana programs. Why would they do this if there was any kind of a threat to public health or if it was dangerous medicine? And we haven't heard anything about it being dangerous medicine. Well, we have heard a lot about dangerous medicine, but never weed. Where are they getting their information? We enact common sense reform if cannabis was indeed dangerous. The FDA needs to formally study cannabis for the sake of argument and bureaucratic formality, and recommend rescheduling marijuana under the Controlled Substances Act. With over half the union now legalized in some form, it should be a commonplace discussion, not just an arbitrary talking point. With this reclassification, more states would have the freedom to enact their own reforms and regulatory measures. In my opinion, cannabis should be taxed and regulated in a manner similar to alcohol for adult consumption. Currently, the cannabis industry in the United States is worth $7 billion annually and directly responsible for the creation of nearly 150,000 full-time jobs. By 2025, estimated value at $23 billion annually and some 650,000 jobs. Federal decriminalization would raise $3 billion in annual payroll taxes and create 1 million new jobs. The federal government already profiteers off the industry because of employees still pay federal income tax and Medicare and Social Security taxes. These jobs are already contributing to society and our economy. I live in Louisiana now, but I used to live in Spokane, Washington, and worked in the cannabis industry for a time. Legalization works and is extremely effective. My state would benefit greatly if from additional tax revenue, and we would add thousands of jobs to our economy. Louisiana is one of the most economically vulnerable and most dependent on federal assistance. But I also know that without federal reforms, it's unlikely to legalize cannabis in the future. Our medical marijuana program has still yet to be fully implemented, so it's still easier for people with medical needs to buy marijuana illegally, let alone wait for access for approved products to be available to them. This isn't about being soft on drugs. It's about being sensible on drug policy. Cannabis does not deserve its current scheduling status and needs to be rescheduled and or legalized altogether. Depending on what polls you see, anywhere from 59 to 64% of Americans believe cannabis should be legalized. 71% believe it should be left up to individual states to do so among themselves. It's time for federal policy to reflect public opinion on this issue. And then we have the category of drug industry. Dylan Bugos posted a comment. I fully support the legalization of recreational marijuana. It'll damper the war on drugs, which will keep people out of prisons, decrease street violence, and net this country amplitudes of money. It has a very wide range of medical uses and is less harmful to people than either alcohol or tobacco. Seriously, why is marijuana still illegal? It's the 21st century, so let's start acting like it. Academia. Jake Baum. In the case of marijuana, I am for legalization. I do see negatives with use, however. In my experience and what I have personally seen in users, a use, I assume that's supposed to be abuse, of the drug can lead to dependence under the age of 25, lower cognitive ability, and lower ability to formulate sentences. While those negatives are significant, I have also seen an epileptic person totally quit the use of harmful prescription medication. I have seen someone who was socially awkward, I'm going to assume that's awkward, begin to relax, release their anxiety, and behave normally. I personally have used it for sore muscles after a long day of work. I finally able to relax. I have also used it as a self-help tool. Marijuana use in moderate dose range gives me the ability to emphasize easier becoming a more selfless person. It has helped me become the person I am to be. There was an anecdote a friend told me where they were buying marijuana illegally from someone while they were smoking. The dealer comes out with a firearm and offered to sell that to them. It had the serial numbers scratched out. He was selling illegal weapons. Having marijuana illegal makes it so those who just want to use it for self-help personal use have to go through some dangerous situations to acquire what they feel they need. If it was regulated and sold in stores safely, more people would get the medicine they need and the government will get the tax dollars. I believe the prohibition has caused more heartache, not just for the people of the United States, but for the men and women in the police force who have to stop traffickers and who may be armed with illegal weapons. Please reschedule marijuana. In God we trust, Genesis 1:29. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for food. Wow. All right, let's see. Remember, we left off at him. Okay, hold on one second here. Let's pull these last few up. Okay. Oh my God. Let me see. I might be able to paraphrase this one. So this is from Texas, and it's from Cole Carter. Here is a nonpartisan cost-benefit analysis of legal weed. Benefactors of legal cannabis, the IRS, who will collect billions in consumption taxes. Local economies when entrepreneurs create dispensaries, hiring a dozen staff members who pay taxes and spend their income at local mom and pop shops. Local economies, farmers who have new cash crop to enjoy, reducing the need for billions in government subsidies. Transportation companies who will be moving pot from the farms to dispensaries. Taxpayers who are currently spending $35,000 a year on the 50,000 people in prison for marijuana possession. That's $1.75 billion a year. Taxpayers who are currently locked up in prison, unable to generate economic activity because they can't work, spend money, or pay taxes. Border police will no longer have to deal with Mexican cartels trying to get weed across the border. These are just some of the economic benefits. Now look at the people who weed will help. People with Parkinson's or arthritis, people with nausea or pain resulting from chemotherapy, Crohn's disease, and IBS, just to name a few. People who rely on expensive pain meds. I'm not sure I've come across a drug cheaper than weed, and that's a dozen middlemen jacked up the price. These same people show high correlations of becoming heroin and fentanyl addicts, so legal weed would curb those numbers too. People with epilepsy, veterans who are already marginalized by the federal government who suffer from PTSD, veterans who experience phantom limb syndrome along with other chronic pain resulting from serving this country, people who experience non-combat related chronic pains such as migraines, certain people suffering from depression or anxiety. It's not for everyone, but I personally have benefited from it in these areas. Kids who are otherwise going to be potentially dangerous drug dealers to secure weed, researchers who are currently banned from receiving federal aid to conduct studies on cannabis, women and children being domestically abused by alcoholics, families of people convicted for marijuana possession who have less support while the kids are psychologically damaged due to losing a parent. As of March 28, 2018, 17 out of the top 18 mass shootings in America were perpetrated by people who had little to no contact with their fathers. Minorities who are targeted 4 times more than white people for marijuana crimes despite having the same rates of consumption as whites. Benefits of the status quo. Big Pharma, sales of overpriced pain and nausea medication will go down with legalization. Big Alcohol, people will substitute weed for alcohol, reducing sales with legalization. Big Tobacco, people will substitute weed for tobacco. Big Paper, Big Plastic, the military-industrial complex, who won't be able to justify the militarization of police for the drug war as broadly with legalization. Mexican drug cartels who now have less income from smuggling cannabis across the border. Other black market dealers who face less income. Private for-profit prisons who won't be able to take in as many tax dollars to lock up people for possession. Now I ask you to weigh which side receives more benefit, the crowd who wants the status quo or the crowd who wants legalization. To me, it's obvious. The legalization side generates more tax dollars, stimulates more economies, prevents marginalization of the sick, racial minorities, and veterans, creates more jobs, and reduces untaxed income in the U.S. The prohibition side only benefits wealthy investors of the 5 major industries. It doesn't even benefit the actual workers of those industries, just the top dogs who are already well into the 1%. And here we have a comment from Other Government in New York, and this is from Tanray Forsyth. Hello, marijuana was never a public harm. It was criminalized as a racist political attack against colored people and political agitators. The truth is that marijuana has the power of healing. It should be legal in every state and every country. Thank you. Massachusetts International Public Citizen. Davin Cleary. Alcohol and tobacco kill thousands every year. Pot has never killed a single person. Illegal pot sales help fund drug cartels and rob the country of tax revenue. Churches, police unions, private prisons, alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceutical companies bribe politicians to keep pot from becoming legal. Everyday peaceful recreational pot users and medicinal pot users are in prison thanks to these industries, while people get legally drunk, start fights, break bottles, and vomit in public. Legalize cannabis. Yes, we cannabis. An anonymous comment in the individual consumer category. CBD THC extracts work extremely well for my fibromyalgia pain. Darren Robbins, as someone who has this guy is from Florida, As someone who has experienced the positive medical benefits of cannabis in treating chemotherapy side effects, nausea, pain, insomnia, etc., it would be beneficial for millions to take the long overdue step that Barack Obama refused to take and make cannabis available for federally approved scientific research. By doing so, we can properly determine the many benefits once and for all. So, with this in mind, this American humbly requests that cannabis be removed entirely from the list of controlled substances. Once enough scientific data is gathered, it can be accurately reclassified if necessary. Thank you for your attention on this critical matter. Signed, Darren Robbins. Another anonymous poster, individual consumer. I'm a medically retired U.S. Marine. I've been on more meds than I can count for chronic pain and an injury sustained in Iraq. There was really only one that ever worked, hydrocodone, which I would only take when the pain was unbearable. Most times I can manage the pain as I have lived with it for more than 15 years. Docs all claim that the injury was not bad enough for them to do surgery on, that it was optional if I wanted it, but it would likely result in different pain that I had no experience managing. All I ever wanted from the VA was a script for hydrocodone so I could manage the bad days, but it was refused multiple times since it was an opioid narcotic. I did not form any addiction to hydrocodone, but due to other people not being able to control themselves, I got punished for it. I was forced to find my own relief, and after months of no success, a friend offered me cannabis to try out. I had read stories of success with chronic pain and gave it a shot. Previously, I had many issues with sleep as well, as I had been diagnosed with severe sleep apnea and constantly having to roll back and forth in bed due to discomfort. When I started using cannabis, I had immediate improvements in pain management, and I was able to get an acceptable amount of sleep, which I need since I work night shift. I currently live in a state that is deemed to be illegal, and I fear for my family if I were to ever get caught because of a pitiful attempt to keep it illegal for the tobacco companies. Please reschedule this plant so the normal, hardworking citizens of this country can go about their normal lives without the fear of repercussion. This one is from Nevada, individual consumer Richard Godby. Docket number FDA 2018N-1072 for the International Drug Rescheduling Convention, blah, blah, blah. I believe that cannabis regulated as a Schedule 1 drug is ineffective and leads to prison time for people with low impact on the greater good. Prohibition of alcohol in the 1920s led to the rise of organized crime and ultimately caused more harm than good. The same thing has been happening with cannabis so far for too many years. For this reason, I support removing cannabis from the list of Schedule 1 drugs. However, I do favor the taxation and regulation of cannabis for medical and recreational use, as have the majority of many voters in many states. James Wagner, category drug industry, his comment: cannabis in all of its forms should be legalized on the federal level. Countless studies have shown and proven that cannabis is not harmful for the body, unlike the legalized and taxed alcohol. Another individual consumer, we have Kelsey Morrison. It is a very helpful plant that has many medicinal uses. Also, the tax money collected from legal states would be astronomical. It shouldn't be criminalized at any level, and anyone still in jail or prison for marijuana should be released immediately. All this talk about taxing, taxity, tax. The last guy was like, let's tax medicine. Everybody wants to tax recreational. We can make enough money off of hemp to not worry about taxing marijuana, but, you know, that's just my opinion. I mean, marijuana can be taxed, but are we going to replace all the taxes with marijuana tax? No, it's not going to happen, man. I'm sorry. I just had to get that out. I don't really have too many comments about the comments, but I will say a little bit at the very end. Just one thing. All right. So this is from Alabama, from Zoe Duncan. Fully legalize and tax the hell out of marijuana. There it is. Use it to fund schools, infrastructure, military, etc. Military? think they got enough funding. Greg Chenal from Arizona. Wait, nope, that's Arkansas, sorry. Please take marijuana off the Schedule 1 list so more research can be done. Over half the states have voted to allow medical marijuana. There is something to this, and it badly needs further research. The FDA has approved Marinol, a marijuana-based drug. This goes to show that there are medical uses. It's time to do this. I'm a stage 4 cancer patient, and it frustrates me so badly my government has stood in the way of meaningful marijuana research. Will it cure cancer? We don't know because it hasn't had the research it needs. Please, please drop the Schedule 1 designation. Another government category, and this is Kelly Morris. Cannabis should not be considered dangerous. It has incredible health benefits for those who have to rely for too late by on heavily addicted drugs. Studies haven't shown the difference cannabis has made in cancer treatment, depression treatment, and even health conditions like migraines. The public has shown that they agree with the fact that cannabis should be legal and is not a danger. Consider descheduling cannabis. It has been shown in the states which have decriminalized it that it's no danger to the public. Good point. Tim Bachmeyer, individual consumer category, says legalize cannabis. It could help so many people. And the last comment I have is from the Healthcare Association sector, and this is from Dean Hockey. This natural plant has been proven to provide numerous benefits for centuries despite the current scheduling and demonization campaign working against it. As a drug, it has a proven track record of being safer than most any other drug on the market. As the world turns to legalization, we are hearing amazing success stories of cures and successful treatments for things like Parkinson's, epilepsy, cancer, glaucoma, and so many others. It is clearly a beneficial drug. Our current restrictions do nothing more than set the U.S. back further behind other countries that are realizing the benefits and learning how to create revenue streams that benefit society. Allowing the alcohol, tobacco, and pharma industries over the years to control this narrative has been a huge lie and deceitful to the American public. Every day we hear of the new benefits that were previously unknown, like helping heroin addicts. How can we continue with good conscience to deny our citizens access to this plant when compared to fully legal alcohol? It doesn't even make a mark in comparison to the damage it does to society, health, and mortality rates. 75,000 deaths per year related to alcohol, which has no health benefits, compared to 0 for a plant that has multitudes of benefits. It is not a question of whether we should or not. The American people have decided with a strong majority. It is now only a matter as to whether the FDA and our Justice Department are for the people or for the profit. I think we already know the answer to that one. So that's what we got so far over here. Let me see. Yeah. Over here at the regulations.gov. Basically, yeah, the comments were pretty good. To be honest, I went through a little bit of a sampling earlier today and last night when I first seen the number was over 3,000, and now it's already hitting 5,000. So we can get this done. It can be. We had, what was it? Kratom had like upwards of 10,000-ish comments, or maybe it finally maxed out at 20,000. I'm not sure. I feel like we should get a lot more comments, and it is what this is going to be. Today's Tuesday. The deadline is Monday, so you have all week to do this. And you heard some of the comments I talked. And one thing about that is they're looking for official comments, things that they can use when they send their report to the United Nations. But they're going to take all the comments into consideration when making their report. I have a problem with this public comment bullshit too, by the way, because we had a listening session with Nestle over here in Michigan where they heard several dozen public comments over a few hour period where we went to this, place at the Capitol, and they sat there, and the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality listened to us while we made comments. Granted, when Flint had their turn, which for some reason all the Flint speakers were pushed to the back of the line and had to speak last, and by then everybody had already left. In fact, some of the people spoke, they were speaking after the comment section was closed. But anyway, that was for people saying, hey, don't extract more water out of our aquifers in Michigan, Nestle, because you're just basically taking that water and selling it back to the people in Flint and places like Flint where the water's been destroyed, the water system's been destroyed or let go by the governments that don't give a shit about it. So basically, yeah, man, every comment counts. Don't feel like, I'm not official enough to make a comment or whatever. It's not about that. So I highly recommend, if marijuana, medical marijuana, cannabis, whatever, you're a stoner, whatever your thing is, if cannabis had some kind of a reason why it enriched your life, you should make a comment. Point blank, man. The more the merrier. And like I said, I went through these and did some sampling earlier and read a bunch, and I didn't I found a couple negative ones, and since I didn't find them here, I was pretty happy. But I kind of did want to stumble into one and read it just to see what how it felt to hear one in the middle of all these positive comments. And that was a pretty cool sampling we did there. Just about every comment was unique, and they all said something that I would have said. And I'm not going to read my comment because I don't even know where it is, and to be honest, I didn't save it either. So yeah, go ahead and make some comments, people. That's all I got. Peace.